Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the wind down.
Mm-hmm. We are ready to wind down from the week.
Yeah, I've got my clear rosé.
It's like how clear Pepsi, it's making a comeback, right?
Yeah. Wait, clear Pepsi?
Oh my gosh, you don't remember that?
No.
Oh, it was like a blip for probably like mid-late 90s.
What?
Pepsi brought out a clear Pepsi. It tasted like Pepsi. It was all the things.
Oh, that is so weird. I don't remember that.
I remember.
But I didn't drink Pepsi back then, I don't think. I think I was more on the Coke side of the Pepsi Coke spectrum.
Didn't get soda very often, so like I didn't really. Yeah. But I just remember I requested it specifically for a birthday. I can't remember which one.
I want that clear Pepsi.
I was like, Mom, I want the clear Pepsi. And she found it. It was great. I mean,
Mom.
It was amazing. I think it was like my birthday treat was clear Pepsi.
Right.
She has water, but we could pretend it's clear wine.
Do you think you would have known if she got you Sprite?
Yes, because it tasted like Pepsi. It tasted like a cola.
I was a Sprite person, actually. And Mountain Dew. Isn't that like the worst one for you or something?
I think so. I was never a Mountain Dew person.
Yeah, I liked Mountain Dew. And you know what I really did is I used to go and mix all of them. Did you ever do that?
Oh, the suicides?
Yeah, is that what it's called?
That's what we called it. I don't know.
Suicides, yeah.
Because it tasted so bad, in my opinion.
Oh, I loved it. I wanted like Dr. Pepper, the Coke, I don't even drink Pap. I'm from Michigan anymore,
But it's funny, cut to 10 years later when I'm in my early 20s and I'm drinking Long Island iced teas, which is
basically the same thing with alcohol. Yeah, literally. All the colors.
All the colors. All the hangover the next day.
And really, it's suicide.
Right, exactly.
It is. All right, well, we're going to be diving into a topic that I personally was excited to talk about.
Same.
Yeah. This is from Yahoo Money. Mm-hmm. Slow living is the antidote to hustle culture if you can access it.
Yeah, and I think this article has a couple different really interesting points that I know we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of says it in the title that slow living is not accessible for everybody.
Totally.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because, it does take a certain amount of either time or money to kind of, or at least comfortability in order to be able to access it.
Yeah. I had some mixed feelings with that as well, reading it. And I was like, okay, well, I would love that, but that's impossible, you know? But also it made me sort of reflect on my own life and say, hey, I could slow down a little bit in certain places, probably. It'd probably be healthy.
Yeah, and I think it's as an antidote to hustle culture, which is just go, 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 be productive at every minute. And I don't know about you, but I certainly feel that way. Yeah. 99% of the time.
It has become a part of our culture. And as they were pointing out on social media, a lot of comparisons are often made when people are scrolling through their social media page. And I think it once was kind of focused on maybe aesthetic and people having like heavily like unattainable looks, like edited photos with them lying on a beach or whatever, drinking a martini. And now, like, that's not I'm sure that's still getting people, but it's not the thing that's making people suffer from comparison and feelings of inadequacy. But it's when people now are posting how much they're getting done during the day. Like 7 a.m. yoga. I just made myself this power lunch. Now I'm, it's like...
Now I have a full day of work, and then I'm going to my second job, and then I'm taking care of all my children.
I'm an entrepreneur as well, and I'm business
and I'm
owner.
doing it all. And look at my great relationship I have with my kids and my husband, and we have date night every week.
I totally, when I was reading it, I don't know if I've like articulated it before, but I was like, this is so real. Like I see like my peers doing it. I see it happening a lot, and I feel that sort of panic of, oh, I have to keep up. I'm not doing enough. You can't take a break. You need to keep going. Like, look at everyone. Like,
right.
And And it'll even be like, okay, now I'm journaling. Now I'm, it's like they're filling every single moment with something and documenting
productive.
With something productive, yes. And it's exhausting
Yes.
because we already feel like we're never doing enough sort of in this hustle culture that we live in.
And I find myself even like having a hard time not doing something while I'm watching TV.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Like I feel like
you need to be multitasking.
I need to be
multitasking
multitasking in order to be able to enjoy, which is the opposite of actually enjoying TV.
Right.
Or relaxing.
Right.
Or whatever you do to relax.
Like we're forgetting how
Exactly.
to shut down,
Mm-hmm. So I think, slow living, which is there's been the slow food movement. There's been, we'll talk about...
slow food movement. Is it like chewing like 30 times before you swallow or something?
So there is intuitive eating, which is typically, just eating what your body feels and taking your time.
Sure.
But the slow food movement is more eating seasonally, eating things that are local to you. Alice Waters is a huge chef in the space of the slow food movement. She kind of started it with Chez Panisse in Berkeley back in I think it started in the 70s, but it was maybe 80s. I don't know. It's delicious. So if you ever get the chance to go, it's amazing.
I'm already drooling.
But things are locally sourced. They're, and it's just about, farm to table is basically a similar concept that has...
being mindful about what you're putting in your body.
Yeah, being mindful of what you're putting in your body.
Okay.
And
eating with the season and with what is naturally growing at that time.
Exactly. In your area typically.
Sure.
So it's things that are then also have a lower carbon footprint.
Yes. Okay.
And it's much better for the environment, but also supposedly also better for your health, because again, you're eating these seasonal vegetables and seasonal foods that are just sense. Better for you. It's also cheaper typically.
Slow eating, slow living, there's all these things trying to rein us in because we are just so fast-paced, consumer-driven, hustle culture. It's becoming exhausting, and I think it's just raising levels of anxiety across the board. It really is.
Well, and I think it's also very interesting that in this modern age, we feel this need to go back to the way just even a couple generations ago, or even a generation, that's how it was.
Right. Well, we weren't all watching each other. There's this voyeuristic quality now where we're watching and comparing to what other people are doing, and we're saying, we have to keep up with everyone else. And it's not sustainable, is it? And also, it's not realistic. What people are putting out there, it's not what's actually happening in their world. It's just, for the most part, we formulate what we want to on our social media platforms. It's formulated. It's not.
It's your best representation, which is not your real life, typically.
No way. When meltdowns and spit ups and blowouts are happening, I'm a little too busy to be pulling out my camera and documenting it. I'm sorry. Although I'd love to give some realism.
Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some ways that you can incorporate the slow living into your daily routine.
That's right. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to how to slow live? Slow living.
Living slowly.
Living slowly.
Or incorporate slow living into your day-to-day.
Right. And so, slow living is essentially the practice of living more consciously and intentionally. And I feel like it's being present, just being present in a singular moment and not multitasking, as we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
And I actually have this conversation with my husband quite a bit. So it's funny because I didn't have a word for it. I didn't call it, we need to practice slow living.
Right.
But I'm our attention is so divided at all times. And I remember getting up and having a cup of coffee and just having a cup of coffee in the morning. And it was something you looked forward to, with your partner, and you'd talk or even watch the news together, in the morning. But now it's we sit down and he's ordering something he needs to order on his phone, and then he starts watering the plants, and I'm and then I'm chasing the baby, and it's so hard to just wrangle us in and focus on just and be intentional in the moment. And we have this conversation and we're just not mastering it. I mean, we really are kind of failing. So this was a good article to read.
Yeah, and I think it had some interesting tips. Now, it talked about an influencer that the author had talked to who was kind of a champion of this slow living movement. And she had talked about how she likes to be barefoot in a forest and looking up, or taking going into a local river with a group of women and just enjoying nature. And like, by all means, that's awesome and sounds like lovely experiences. But not everybody either has other women to go bathe with in rivers, or don't want to bathe in the river that's closest to you, because
and also, like, right. Are they an influencer making money based off of promoting the slow living lifestyle, which in effect might trigger some feelings of inadequacy towards slow living?
It's all cyclical. But I think that there were some interesting tips, to your point, that like we could all kind of incorporate, and that the author tried to do throughout her week, and she was chronicling how she was able to do these things.
Right.
And the first one was to relax in the present moment. And, you know, she said she had a hard time doing it on a walk with her mother on the beach, but when she took a bath later on that night, she was actually able to like pamper herself and relax and just really release everything and not be thinking, having a running to-do list in her mind. It was more just actually be present in her bath, which is very hard to do. I don't know about you, but like,
I multitask in the bath.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll set the whole thing up. Lights, bubbles. Like, here it is. And then suddenly I'm like, I gotta order this thing that I forgot about. And I have to like check my emails and suddenly bath time's over.
Right. So maybe it's about putting your phone aside and just bringing a paper book into the bath, or just nothing.
I know. I think people have to find their thing in this new climate sort of that we live in. Because I remember back in the day, I used to be able to just like watch a television show and check out.
Right.
I just can't, like you were saying, to your point, I start multitasking. And so I've never been a reader. And recently I just started reading this book, and reading, I think, because it forces you to focus in a way other things don't.
Yes.
You literally have to hold and read, right?
Yes.
It has been very, very necessary and therapeutic for me, because it actually forces me to stop and be in the moment.
And one of the other ways that the author tries to incorporate, you know, the slow living is through slow cooking, which is very similar to the slow food movement, which is, again, just being more mindful of what you're putting in your body. So eating more seasonally. This is why farmers markets are amazing, but they can also be a little bit more expensive. But you know, what's in season at your grocery store is typically also what's going to be on sale, because it's what they have the most of at that time.
Right.
And
you can tell because it just looks better than everything else too, right?
Exactly.
It looks healthy, like it's supposed to be there.
Exactly. I mean, and we all love our indulgences. Like, clearly avocados do not grow on the East Coast, but I still want to eat them.
Yeah, that one's a hard one.
But, you know, we do try to like stay in season, especially with fruits and vegetables, because they taste so much better.
Right. Even just cooking at home.
And cooking at home, yeah.
It's like the act of just focusing on doing that and putting thought into what you want to make for yourself. It tastes different. I mean, my husband and I always say this. Like, I mean, I have so many friends from living in the city for so long that like have never cooked. You typically don't have like a very nice kitchen when you're in the city. You know what I mean? Like in your apartments and stuff
small
like that.
Spaces,
Yeah, and again, hustle culture in a city is like
10 times. Yeah, for sure.
So people are, you know, popping by the deli and, you know, getting their sandwich and or ordering food in. Like, a lot of my friends don't cook. I'm very happy that my husband and I both are passionate about that, because it's a very therapeutic time in our household to be intentional and mindful and say like, oh, well, what do we want? And we always end up saying, anytime we've like ordered food, we're like, why do we do this? It tastes so much better when we do it ourselves. You know?
I totally agree. I mean, there are some food foods that I'm just like, no, those are better, order it out. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Indian food, Thai food, there's just so many flavors in there that I'm just not going to get.
No, I'm not cooking an Ethiopian feast in the house. Right. No, I'm like.
But I agree with you. Like, I find cooking very cathartic, and it's actually probably, other than running, one of the only times where I'm actually focused on just that act. I'm not thinking about what's on my to-do list. I'm not, I mean, maybe a little bit, but those days where I actually get to cook.
Yeah.
And like, instead of just getting dinner quickly out on the table, but something I've planned ahead on, or like, we love that.
It's harder, I get it, when you have kids as well. It does become a little bit harder to factor in that time to do that, for sure. Because sometimes it is like, okay, now it's their dinner time and putting them on their schedule, and what do we make for them and all of that. So I feel like, when you get the chance to do it, it's just like, I can breathe.
Exactly. It's so nice. One of the other tips that she also talks about is doing yoga or meditation to really be in your body and be understanding, getting into your mind and slowing that down versus doing more cardio and some of the other things that are a little bit more. I just think it comes down to moving your body, however your body feels like it wants to move.
Yeah, I feel like everyone knows somebody who's a big yogi. Like, yoga is so changing people's lives. Like, truly, I love it for them. But it doesn't do that for me in the same way. Like, to be active, I find I just need to move my body differently than that to get what I need out of it. Totally. And I think, to your point, it is just moving your body in whatever way feels right to you. If it's like a bike ride or rollerblading. I love rollerblading. I'm not allowed to do it, apparently. Aww. I'm pregnant. It's so boring, but I actually love rollerblading. My husband makes fun of me. He's like, it's so embarrassing. I'm like, shut up, I love it.
I love that about you. I did not know that. So great.
I really want to get some cool 80s rollerblades too.
I think it's going to be back.
Oh yeah. I'm making it come back. I'm telling you.
I love it.
So I'm going to get back in shape after I have this kid.
Rollerblading. There you go.
On that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we will be right back with some more slow living tips. Welcome back, everyone. I was thinking on our break that it's important that we touch on the fact that all of these tips are really fantastic, right? But not everybody can either afford right now to be going to yoga classes or taking this amount of time away from the hustle to be doing these things, because there's bills to pay, there's children to take care of, there's just a million things going on in life that are inevitables. You have to get them done, right? Right. And so I was thinking about that, and I even the other day I was feeling the stress of everything happening, and I don't know if I would have thought to do this if I wasn't pregnant, but sometimes I do worry about the stress, translating to the baby and all of those things. And so I just took some intentional breaths, and that was it.
There you go.
And honestly, it really helped. It really did. Yeah. And it took no time. You know what I mean? And it cost no money, but it put me back in the present rather than making me feel like I was out of my body. You know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah. I think that that's really useful. And I think, to your point, not everybody, and the next, one of the last points that she brings up is doing what's called slow fashion. So, which isn't always accessible to everybody. Right. Because typically slow fashion brands are at a higher price point because they're made a little bit more sustainably. They're paying higher wages to their workers. There's a lot of other things that are going into it versus this fast fashion, which is just quick. But you're also spending more per piece on a slow fashion than you typically are on fast fashion. Sure. However, I think the caveat here is that it really also can come down to cost per wear. So instead of buying 4 new blouses, and yes, I did just say blouse. like I'm 75 years old or something. Instead of buying 4, new shirts that are $25 each,
right,
you're buying one that's $100 that is a little bit more timeless, that you're actually going to wear more often.
My husband says, buy cheap, buy twice.
Exactly.
He does. And yeah, because I'm always like, that's me. I'm like, H&M will get me. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's super easy. They've got really cute
Zara,
stuff.
like, it's true. They have really cute things usually in fashion as well, and trendy and fun and, unique. They seem like unique pieces too.
Right.
And so you're like, oh, I'm into this, and they're cheap. But yeah, my husband has taught me, and he usually wins this argument, especially after one wash.
So I think, it comes down to like cost per wear.
Yeah.
And I was looking at my closet the other day because I am having one of those moments where I look in my closet and there is nothing I want to wear.
Yeah.
Because I have worn it all for so long.
Right. I know. You just get bored.
I get so bored. But I also found it really funny, like looking through some of my things.
Yeah.
And I was also having this conversation with my mom. I used to have a shoe problem.
That's where all her money went in her 20s.
It's true. It's true. I worked at a retailer. I worked in retail, and there were lots of pretty shoes around all the time, and I needed them all.
Yeah, that's hard.
Temptation. But then I look at my closet, and a lot of the things that I have bought in my early 20s, which are now 10 to 15 years old, had lasted the test of time.
It's like my rollerblades.
There you go. Cost per use.
I got them in 7th grade. They were quality. I still have them.
I love that.
They're like for real. They look archaic,
right?
but they're brilliant.
It's great. They still work.
Yeah.
They still spin. You can still go blading. Yes. It's amazing. See, cost per wear.
Yeah.
You don't need new rollerblades, even if, again, there's probably not too much new technology in the rollerblading.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know. Some like avid rollerblader is going to come at me, but
They're vintage now, so it's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, again, going back to the slow living movement, a lot of the things are upcycled or recycled or reusing things that you've already had.
Hand-me-downs.
Hand-me-downs are huge, which especially for kids.
Yeah, you got to get into that as a parent.
They're amazing.
Yeah. You got to just get on board with that because it's the way to go. They change too quickly. They grow too fast.
I had a girlfriend who would just drop off garbage bags.
Yeah,
of
garbage
clothes.
bags, yeah.
And I was just like, thank you.
It's brilliant.
And it's so great. Unfortunately, we live across the country now, and it's fine. I miss them. But
I know it's great when you have a friend whose kid is like just a little bit ahead of you, so you just keep. I have that with my sister, which has been beautiful. Her first child is just that perfect age ahead of mine.
Nice.
So every time I see her, I get new goodies, and it's brilliant.
So great.
Yeah. I know. But even I'm finding that vintage, like I used to do a lot of vintage shopping.
Yes,
loved it.
And thrift shopping.
I'm finding that those stores are becoming so pricey.
Yes.
They used to be like,
It's like $1 a t-shirt.
Yeah. I mean, and now it's like, we just found the cutest vintage shop near our house, and we went in and I was so excited, and it reminded me when I was in high school and I was really into vintage shopping, and I was digging through, and it was like a blouse.
It probably was a blouse because it's vintage.
Yeah, it was a blouse. And it was like over $100. And I was like, what? I guess I'm going back to Zara. But I mean, they're pieces that have stood the test of time.
Exactly.
So it's just something to be mindful of if you can. Maybe you don't need 6 blouses. Maybe you just need one quality.
Exactly. And I think, a lot of these tips and tricks just really come back to taking the time and thinking about living more consciously in different aspects of your life. And maybe it's not that you still aren't going to hustle as hard as you can, but maybe there's times you can take a moment out and you can do some intentional breathing.
Yeah.
Instead of going to a fast fashion retailer, you might invest in some pieces that will last the test of time, or at least, 5 to 10 years that really will bring you joy for the long term.
Well, and actually, putting in that restorative time might enhance your hustle. Mm-hmm. So yeah, sometimes just resetting your mind and body puts you on track for a more productive day anyway.
Yep.
So even if it's just a couple restorative breaths, I'm telling you, saved my life the other day. Jeez, it really did.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad. It's great.
I hope that everyone can practice a little more slow living and incorporate it just a little bit in your day-to-day life. I know I'm going to try.
I'm definitely going to try.
Yeah, we're all going to try. Because this hustle culture, it's exhausting.
Exhausting.
But thank you for joining us on another episode of The Wind Down. We will see you next week with another big old glass of wine and another
Clear wine.
clear wine. See you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.